I'm telling you what.
They are ready.
This is a committed crew here.
Yeah, this is a good group. Now, he's going to be asking first off about your goals. So have your goals out.
You're supposed to be waiting for him to give the signal.
No, I'm talking to them before he gave this.
He's given the signal a dozen times. Good evening, guys. It is so good to see you back again. And I know I've been talking to a few of you, but I just wanted to know how everybody's doing. Would you be willing to share with the group? How many people have noticed positive changes in blood sugars? Do we have anybody? Yes, we got one. Is that all I've got? Two. Good. Very good. Very good. How many people met their weight loss goal? 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, 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 good. How many people have noticed downward trends in blood pressure? 1, 2, 3. Yes, 4. Very good. Very, very good. 5. All right. Now let's see. How about fiber goals? How many people met their fiber goal this week? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, most of the time? Yes, most of the time. Okay, good, good. And let's see. How many people met their sleep goal? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, good. Oh, no, 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 no. Doesn't work that way. If you need to make your goal, just talk to Mike. He'll make up the lack. Oh, it's so much fun to see people begin to make changes. And actually, by this time, usually we're starting to see some changes. Some people will be plateauing still. We oftentimes will have people that will plateau for 6 weeks. Up to 6 weeks before they start seeing one person I saw him plateau for about 8 weeks before he started down. But eventually, everybody will start down. So what we want to do this week is get our fiber goal up to what? Yeah. 40 to 45 this coming week. Now, you thought it was hard to do 30 to 35? This requires a little diligence.
No. I can give you a tip, though, if you want to help get your fiber up. Chia seeds have a lot of fiber, and you can add those on the salad, add them in cereal, add them on all kinds of stuff. And they don't have a lot of flavor. They just have body to them. And so, yeah, you don't want it to soak up in soup or something. That wouldn't be as good. But it does have a lot of fiber, and that will help you. And,
it does gel. The fiber in it causes it to gel. So it's, I was just sharing with somebody, chia pudding. There's some chia pudding recipes that are just really quite delightful. And, you just mix it up tonight, and it's ready to serve in the morning. Sits in the refrigerator, and it just congeals overnight. So it's interesting. You've done that twice this week? Very good. Very good. I'm sorry?
No.
Still has the same amount of fiber. But
it's just that some people don't like it wet, when it's dry and you can just sprinkle it on stuff. They like it better.
So anyway.
Now, someone told me tonight that they have a lot of energy. That's not a goal. That is just a byproduct.
That is a byproduct. Has anybody else noticed that they have increased energy? Yes. So several people around the room are beginning to feel that, and that is true. We've heard that report over and over again for many years now from people that are going through the program. And when you eat the high nutrient foods, it does boost your energy levels. So this is all good news. Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to just have another prayer for you guys. Heavenly Father, I'm so thankful, Lord, that you have given some results. People are having more energy. Some people are seeing changes with the blood sugars. Some people are seeing changes in the weight. Some people are seeing changes in blood pressure. And I just thank you for every movement forward toward better health. Now, please be with them tonight as we do this lecture about carbohydrates. I pray that they will be able to understand the material and apply the important points to their personal lives where it will make the biggest difference for them. So thank you for being with them this week, and we just rejoice going forward in Jesus' name. Amen. So tonight, what we are discussing is watching my carbs. And there is a text that says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases, who redeemeth thy life from destruction." And the part that I wanted you to get, whoops, I did something wrong here. There we go. The part I wanted you to get especially was that phrase in the middle, "who healeth all thy diseases." It's my personal belief that if we will align ourselves with the natural laws that God has given us, and we will live to the best of our ability, God actually is the one that gives us the healing. So we have seen all kinds of healings. We've seen diabetes reversed. We've seen neuropathy pain go away. We've seen people who were blind regain sight. One lady, for instance, came through the program and she was legally blind, had to have somebody bring her in every night. They sat with her over at her table, and she went home and applied this stuff. Within 4 months, she had regained her eyesight to the point that she went back, tested out, got her driver's license back. Her church bought her a car. I mean, do you see that happen? But these kind of things are happening all around us as we teach the people these lifestyle interventions. It's not just diabetes, it's lots of other things, and so I just rejoice every time I hear some new story. So, for me, that's payday. When you come to me and you tell me you're doing better, that's payday. So we're just thankful for that. Okay. Remember, this program is only for educational purposes, so don't do anything that we say until you've checked with your doctor. But once your doctor gives you the green light, get with it. Get with it. Do it, do it, do it. Okay, at the end of this lecture, you should be able to, whoops, I keep hitting the wrong button here tonight. You should be able to identify the basic units which make up carbohydrates. And you should be able to recognize sugars by their names and state the benefits of resistant starch. And you should be able to name an antidote for a toxin called fructose.
And that will all make more sense in a little while. Okay, this lady, Ginger, actually was an acquaintance of ours from back in college. She had gotten married, lived in the community for a while around the college, and then left. They moved to Chicago. Eventually, she ended up divorced, and she fed her heart. You know anybody that does that? It's easy to do when you're upset and you're hurting and you're lonely and all the rest. We feed our heart. We're emotional eaters. And so this is what happened with Ginger. And as she went down this path, she eventually had to walk with a walker as she became more and more obese. All kinds of physical issues. Anxiety was really bad. Diabetes, congestive heart failure, sleep apnea, multiple falls. Every day she would fall just to get up out of bed. She had nothing to hold on to. She would just topple over. It was awful. So she gave up her driver's license. She moved into assisted living, and she felt like she was at end of life, and this was the journey that she was going to be on.
62.
Well, a friend invited her to move down to Tennessee, and when we went up to the Johnson City area to do a diabetes, just a weekend program, the friend invited Ginger to come over and visit. We only had about 20 minutes that we could visit with her. And she asked us, what are you all doing? And so we explained about the program that we teach. And she said, well, what do you do? What do you tell people they need to do? And so we just real quickly went through basic things like you're learning. Number one, you increase the fiber. You need to eat more, but you need to eat the good stuff. And when do you exercise? When's a good time? Right after you eat. You want that 20 minutes of walking. And so Ginger listened, and she went back to her assisted living, her little room there, and she got a recipe for taco soup, and she made herself taco soup. Now, she would go down to the dining hall there at the residence where she lived, and she would eat her meals, but she would come back up to her room. She'd ride the elevator back up, and she would eat some of her taco soup. And she said she ate it every day for a year. But this is what happened. She lost more than 140 pounds. Her anxiety was gone. Her diabetes was gone. Her congestive heart failure was gone. Her sleep apnea gone. She was now steady on her feet. She got rid of her walker. And in fact, she got her driver's license back, and she got an apartment, and she moved out of the assisted living. She had a renewed interest in spiritual things as well. And so she went through some Bible studies. She was rebaptized into the church. She did Bible studies with a friend who was baptized with her and came into the church. And she's very active now. This summer, believe it or not, she went on a mission trip to Africa. And she ran a vacation Bible school with her church for the kids over there. It was just amazing. We're so excited. Now, she is getting ready to have, many years ago, she had a hip replacement surgery, and she is getting ready to have a revision of that for whatever reason. And so she had to be cleared to have this done. And the physician, her primary physician, said, well, you don't get over congestive heart failure. So he required that she go to a cardiologist and be checked out. She checked out beautifully. She has no congestive heart failure. She's doing very well. And so they have cleared her for surgery, and in a couple weeks, she's going to have that surgery. But it's just so amazing the witness that she has been with the changes in her life. Another thing that she was told is you don't come off psych meds. She was on 7 psych meds, along with all her other medicines. She came off a lot of the other medicines first, and then little by little, as her health improved, she also came off of her psych medicines. She was on 1 for quite a while, and finally, I think it's been a little less than a year ago that she went back to the doctor, and he said, you do not need this medicine any longer, and took her off of the very last psych medicine. So we're just thrilled for her. She's amazing.
Sounds like, to me, she needs to put a patent on that taco soup.
She actually gave me the recipe, and I believe that I included it in your handbook. I can't tell you what page it's on, but I believe that it is in there now. And if not, I have it, and I can share it with you. The recipes are in the back. They're behind a green sheet. And we have changed a lot of the recipes for this class because so many in the area here have been through the class before, and that's why we're giving you copies of the recipes that we're doing that are on your table each night, because these recipes are not in the book. The ones like what Debbie did tonight, and the delicious one we had last week too, with the mushrooms and green beans, that was really good. Anyway, so tonight we are talking about carbohydrate chemistry. Yes? 34. Okay. Ginger's taco soup. There you go. Thank you, Judy. All right, carbohydrate chemistry. When you hear the word chemistry, what do you think? You think what? Science. Yeah. Oh, no, right? Okay. Well, we're going to teach you something in a few minutes. But first, there are 3 main food nutrients, primary nutrients that we eat, and that's carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And so tonight we're going to break down the carbohydrates: sugar, starches, fiber, cellulose. We're going to break that down and talk about it. Now, sometimes people get emotionally flooded when we talk about chemistry. And so what I want you to do, Steve's going to get up here and talk, but what I want you to do, if he gets over your head, you need to do this. I'm drowning. And he will recognize the sign. Right, just thinking about it.
Well, take a deep breath, Sandy. Just a deep breath. Purse your lips and blow it out slowly. Think, I can do this. I can do this.
But if he sees you doing that, he will restate what he said.
And guys, don't worry. I know CPR. I can help.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. Yes, that's right. Okay.
Did the air condition come on by any chance? I turned it down earlier a little bit, but that might make too much noise. I don't know. I think it's probably still about 80 in here.
Okay.
It says 74?
All right. Maybe.
It's a whole lot better than it used to be.
Well, when we talk about sugars, there are a lot of names for sugars. Some of them are common names, and some of them are scientific names. And so one of the most basic of all sugars is one that's called glucose. And so I've represented that by a red oval up here. Is that simple enough to understand? I mean, whenever you see a red oval, then that's glucose. You know, when the sunshine comes down through the atmosphere and in the presence of water in the leaf, you remember there's a process, 6th grade I think we learned about photosynthesis, right? Well, the majority of the chemical that is produced by photosynthesis is glucose. And there are others that are formed as well, but we call it a simple sugar. It only has 6 carbon molecules and 12 hydrogens and whatever else.
Whatever.
Anyway, right below it is a yellow oval. That's called fructose. It's the same chemical makeup, but the shape of the molecule is different. And then there is a third simple sugar that's called galactose. Now, these things don't like to be together. They don't like to be alone. When they are in nature, they often reach out and form a weak hydrostatic bond, we call it. And it's just sort of like 2 people, you know, they reach out and they hold hands. And if one of them is glucose and the other one is glucose, then we have another sugar that's called maltose.
See the 2 red up there together?
When one is a glucose and the other one is a fructose that holds hands, then we have a 5th sugar called sucrose. Very good. And then when you have a glucose that holds hands with a fructose molecule, galactose. That's right. Now this is what I want you to remember off of this page. If the word ends in OSE, it's probably a sugar. Okay? So when you pick up your label and you're looking at the label and it says sucrose, maltose, galactose, etc., then what you're doing is you're looking at sugars. And if they break out the sugars and call them by their chemical names, then it doesn't sound so formidable, right? You know, when you pick up a label and the first ingredient says sugar, what do? You put it back on the shelf. Ooh, that's not good for me. I have diabetes. I can't eat sugar. But, when you name it something else, it's like the lady, she was the director of the lab at the hospital.
Be nice.
I mean, the director of the lab at the hospital is supposed to know chemistry, right? You'd think. But anyway, I saw her in the lobby, and they had one of these big blue jugs in the lobby, this water that it's in the blue jug, and you can get it chilled or you can get it whatever. And she's standing there, and she has a water bottle, but the stuff inside the water bottle was brown. Okay, so she had added something to that, right? And so, I knew her pretty well, and I thought I could get by with this. So I said, hey, what kind of mud water are you drinking? Oh, it's okay, she said. All it has in it is sucrose. That's okay, isn't it? Well, the other name for sucrose is sugar, white sugar, table sugar, okay? So all it has in it is sugar. That's okay. I have diabetes. I've been counseling with you because, one of these little flavor packs, it just had sucrose in it. And that was okay because it didn't have sugar, right? But now she became wiser, and it gave me a good story to tell, right? So anyway, if you know that the sugars end in OSE, then you'll know that you're looking at sugars. Okay, so we go on. Sometimes these molecules will pair up in longer chains. And glucose especially does this. And you'll have these chains. I represented it as 6 or 8 ovals up here. But really, that would be 600 or 800, 200 or 300 to 600 or 800 ovals in one molecule would be a starch molecule. So now we're thinking potatoes, rice, noodles, pasta, etc. And then there is a form called resistant starch. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. There, as these molecules get longer and longer, then when they get over usually about 800 molecules 800 glucose units in a molecule, we don't have enzymes to break that down. And so we call that fiber. And you can have soluble fiber. You can dissolve it in water. It looks completely clear. You don't even know you're drinking it. But there's fiber in there, but you can't digest it. So it's not going to add calories to you. You're not going to get fat off of it or anything. Then you have longer chains still, and we have cellulose. Well, why are we talking about cellulose? That's the woody stuff that they make, that trees are made out of. But yes, if you look at your food labels, you can get like high fiber bread, and what you will see is cellulose, food grade cellulose. What is it? It's food grade sawdust that they've added to your bread. That's basically what it is. So anyway, since we eat these things, we're going to talk about it. So, and again, you can't digest that, so there's no calories there. Now, we're going to shrink this page down, and we're going to put it in the corner because I want to talk about it again. And I want you to see, we're going to start right at the top, and we're going to come down that list all over again. Here we go. First thing we're going to talk about is glucose. Now, glucose is what we call an essential carbohydrate. Essential means you've got to have it, okay? You've got to have glucose. There are some organs, some tissues in your body, like your brain, that you can't live without glucose for. So your body will actually take and break down muscle. If you're in a starvation type situation, it'll break down your muscle to make glucose to keep your brain alive. Pretty neat thing, It is a simple sugar, and lucky for us, it's widely available in our food supply. It's there in starches, it's there in sugars, it's in fiber, it's in cellulose, it's just all over the place. The second one is fructose. Now, this is a non-essential carbohydrate. You could live the rest of your life without ever eating any more fructose, and you would be just totally healthy. You'd be fine. It is a simple sugar. it cannot be used by the cells throughout the body. It has to go to the liver, where the liver changes it in something that is usable for your body. In and of itself, it's actually a toxin for the body because no cell in the body can use it. It has harmful, deleterious effects if you're eating it just by itself. And anyway, but it's widely available in fruits and in berries and in root vegetables and in high fructose corn syrup. And then there's galactose, another simple sugar. It's non-essential. You could live the rest of your life without eating this one too. But it cannot be used in the body either without going through the liver where it is metabolized. Now, unlike the fructose has to be metabolized in the liver, and I may be getting ahead of myself here. But it goes through a very complicated chemical process. Thank you. Couldn't pull the word out. A process before it is usable for the body. But galactose, two-step process. It just, like the end of the molecule gets twisted around and thrown back out as glucose, and you can use that. So anyway, moving on. Coming down that list in the corner, we're coming to maltose now. Maltose is abundant in all kinds of things, things like beer and beverages and cereal and grain and pasta, etc. You can get it from all kinds of things. And when you take it into your mouth, the digestion process starts. There's an enzyme in your mouth called amylase. And amylase begins breaking apart those molecules. So maltose just turns into glucose when you digest it. Now, when it gets to the stomach, if there's any residual maltose left, when it gets to the stomach, then there's high doses of that enzyme that will break it down. And, so the end product of carbohydrate, of maltose digestion is just simply glucose. Sucrose, your table sugar. When you eat that, 50% of it by weight is glucose, 50% of it by weight is fructose. And so when you digest that, again, that little bond is broken apart. And so you have both glucose and fructose that are the result of that. Then we move on to lactose. When you eat lactose, that little bond between the two, again, is broken. And you've heard of people being lactose intolerant, right? These are people, they don't metabolize, they can't digest that carbohydrate or that sugar very well. So they're sensitive to that, to the lactose. But the end product of that is, one molecule is glucose already. The other molecule just passes through the liver, and when it comes out the other side, the liver's already taken it and changed it. Two-step process, changed it into glucose. So for all practical purposes, you have just glucose. And then starches are made up of long chains of glucose. So an enzyme will come along at the end of the sugar molecule, or the starch molecule rather, and it starts breaking off these glucose molecules pretty quickly. And so the end result of starch digestion is, again, glucose. So what it comes down to is we really only have two simple sugars that is the end product of carbohydrate digestion. And that's those two right there. Okay, moving on. Oh, let me back up. Right at the bottom of the screen, we had a, whoops.
All the arrows point?
Right there, right there. I moved on too fast, I'm sorry. Okay, it's glucose and fructose. So I want to talk a little bit more about glucose and fructose. So if you were to eat a pound of glucose, that would be absorbed through your intestinal lining. It would go into your bloodstream. It would be circulated around through your body. And 80% of it would be immediately sucked up almost by every cell in the body, because that's what the cells prefer to burn. And 20% of it would go to the liver. Now, part of the liver's job is to store sugar for future use. You know, when you go to work and you're working hard, sometimes you don't have time to stop and eat. And if this was your case and you couldn't eat, but you didn't have a liver, you get to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you just drop dead because your blood sugar would drop. Okay, but because you have a liver, your body will release a hormone that goes to the liver and says, hey, let's give up some of that stored sugar to keep your blood sugar up. Levels are dropping out here. And that's what the liver does. And so the body can virtually store an infinite amount, say that with tongue in cheek. You can store a lot of glucose and it won't make you sick. Okay? It's actually 2.7 either pounds or kilograms, and I don't remember which right now, but it's a lot. Okay? And it can't get out of the liver. Once it's stored, it can't get out of the liver without the release of hormones. But 1/3 of 1% will be converted into VLDL, which is very low density lipoprotein. And it's the kind of stuff that cholesterol is made out of. So that means if you're this kind of individual and you're eating a lot of glucose, by the time you get 95, if you have lived a sedentary lifestyle, it may start creating a problem for you. And you might develop some cardiovascular disease. Okay? Fructose, on the other hand, is a completely different animal. Now, you eat a pound of fructose, and there is none of it that can be used for energy throughout the body. It all has to go to the liver and be converted to something else. The reason for that is no cells have receptors for fructose. And so 100% of it goes to the liver. Now, it follows multiple metabolic pathways. Now, if this was the chalkboard and I were to sit down and write out all of those pathways, we know what they are, and you can take a graduate level course in chemistry and you can learn the metabolic pathways. It would take me probably 3 or maybe the 4th wall here to write out all of those metabolic pathways. But there's some significant pathways I want to talk to you about. The result of all of this is that fructose, as it goes through that process, causes liver disease. It causes fatty liver disease. It causes non-alcoholic cirrhosis. And it causes liver cancer. And once it's stored in the liver, it can't get out of the liver without the release of certain hormones. And the big deal is that 30% of that pound of fructose that we started with is now converted to VLDL. So that's the cholesterol stuff. You know, the cholesterol-forming lipoproteins. So I'm usually asked the question, well, does that mean we can't eat fructose? You know, that's the thing that fruit is sweetened with. And what do you think? Yes. Yes, it is. Well, Dr. Robert Lustig had a great way of putting it. He said, when God packages a toxin in your food supply, he always packages it with the antidote. Any venture as to what the antidote might be? The fiber in the fruit. Absolutely right. So when we take the fiber out of the fruit becomes toxic to us. And it causes this liver disease, and it causes all these other problems, non-alcoholic cirrhosis, etc. But when we eat it with the fiber goes to the large intestine where bacteria feed off of it. And when the bacteria feed off of it, one of the side effects of that is it converts the fiber into short-chain fatty acids, one of which is called butyrate. And butyrate goes back and it undoes everything that the fructose has done. Well, let's look at this next page. I'll talk about that more in a minute. So I've reduced all those four walls of things down to just these things. 40% of the fructose comes out of the liver as glucose. Return to circulation, your body knows what to do with that. 30% of it is VLDL, which causes increased insulin resistance. Okay? Then the remaining 30%, some of that is converted into different forms of fat. Some will be skeletal muscle fat. Some is liver fat. Some is triglycerides, which is free-floating fats in the blood. And some some results in elevated insulin levels. Then a portion of that, extra 30%, will be converted into uric acid. As uric acid is broken down, it causes blood vessel diseases. It causes high blood pressure. It causes erectile dysfunction in men. It causes, then a portion of it goes through what we call the J&K-1 cycle. I call it the junk cycle. But as things go through this, they come out as real dangerous free radicals. They are dangerous chemicals. They go throughout your body, and everything they bump into, they create burns and scarring. And, it's the number one thing that causes organ damage in people with diabetes. And that's caused from fructose metabolism. So all of those things, all of the things except the fructose at the top, 60% of the fructose that you eat by weight is going to cause increased insulin resistance. It's going to make your diabetes worse. Now, we have a real problem in our United States today because we have a lot of manufactured food. And they have this thing they call the bliss point. What they will do is when they are developing a new product, they will develop a recipe and then they will test market it for a short period of time. Then they pull it off the market and they go back and they add sugar to it. And they put it back out on the market and sales go up. So they pull it off the market, they add more sugar to it, test it on the market again. Sales go up. So they pull it off the market and they add more sugar to it. And this time when they test market it, sales go down. So they back up to the previous one. They call that the bliss point. That's the formula which is going to create the highest level of sales. And that's where you want to be, right? If you're running a for-profit industry. But you're not paying attention to the health of the people. So what we need to do is we need to educate ourselves as to what's going on so we understand what's going on. Then we need to read those labels, and if we see that it has added fructose. I go to health food stores. Health food stores, everything in health food stores is healthy, right? Supposed to be. Supposed to be. And I walk back there and I see crystalline fructose in bags. And people go in there and pay health food store prices for poison that's going to give them diabetes. Pull off your labels and read them. Even your vegetables. You will see sucrose added. Sucrose should raise a flag. It's half glucose and it's half fructose. And when that goes in your mouth, those two separate. So if they put a quarter pound of sugar in that recipe, that means you have just eaten an 1/8 pound of poison, right? Unless you have eaten it with an adequate amount of fiber. It's one more reason why the first place we start in diabetes reversal program is by giving you fiber. It is the antidote for the sugars that are just ubiquitous. They're all around us. If you eat them in balance like God created them, there's no problem. But you squeeze the juice out. One glass of apple juice has the juice of 6 to 8 apples. When was the last time you sat down and ate 6 to 8 apples at one meal? Have you ever sat down and drunk more than one glass of apple juice? Yeah, I have too. So what I've done, if you make a habit of that, an occasional thing is not going to bother you. We're talking about like a slow, insidious poison kind of thing. Smoking cigarettes. You smoke your first cigarette, you're not shortening your life, are you? Not much. But if you make a habit of it, then you do. And basically the same thing applies here. So it's when we create the imbalances in our diet by removing the fiber, which God created to go with the with the fructose that he put there, that's when we get in trouble. So there's this thing called resistant starch I want to talk about right now. And you'll notice it right there. Okay. Resistant starch is a wonderful thing because as those starch molecules get longer and longer, then it gets to a place where you're not able to digest them because you don't have enzymes to break them down. But you eat them, and it goes all the way through your small intestine. When it gets to your large intestine, then bacteria will attack the resistant starch and breaks it down. Now it's in shorter units. And so now you can digest them, you can absorb them, and you typically will only absorb about 40% of the calories that are there because by the time it gets to your large intestine, things are pretty much on the way out of here. Okay? So resistant starch, though, is a wonderful food for people with diabetes. And why so? Well, like I said, these sugar molecules like to reach out and hold hands, just like I do. And so when a couple holds hands, glucose and a fructose, they hold hands or glucose and whatever. When they go through that digestion process, this bond gets broken. But with resistant starch, take, for instance, a baked potato. You take that baked potato, it's full of resistant starch, and you scrub it up and you put those potatoes in the oven. When they come out of the oven an hour and 15 minutes later, you press on the ends a little bit and it just pops open and says, fill me up. So good. Okay? But what happens in the baking process, the heat of the oven has broken apart these little bonds that existed between the two. And now you have little short pieces of starch. So when you have hundreds of short pieces of starch instead of one long starch molecule, the enzymes to digest them come along and they begin breaking off glucose molecules. But now you have hundreds of ends. And so it's a process that happens very rapidly. So you eat your meal and you check your blood sugar, and what's your blood sugar running? I mean, it's sky high, right? Blood sugar will go right up because you have so many short little starch molecules. Now, you put them in the refrigerator because you have some leftovers. You put them in the refrigerator and leave them for 24 to 48 hours. It's like a couple, if it's cold, they say, scoot over, honey, I am so cold. Have you ever done that? Yeah, okay. Well, that's what happens with these starch molecules. Those weak hydrostatic bonds reach out and they reform, but it forms a different kind of resistant starch that's even more resistant than the kind you started with. And so the same baked potato, you can pull it out the next, 2 days later, and you eat it 2 days later, and it won't spike your blood sugar.
Even if you heat it up.
Even if you heat it up. Now, heating it will break some of the bonds, but because it's a different kind of resistant starch, it will not spike your blood sugar the same way that baked potato did when it was fresh 2 days before. So resistant starch we can use to our advantage. There are a lot of foods out there that are rich in resistant starch. And basically the same thing will apply to all of these things. When the resistant starches reform, they reform in a more resistant form of starch than you previously had. So how do you know what foods contain it? Well, things like rice and pasta and potatoes and all kinds of vegetables. In fact, you can go to your computer, sit down, and ask it to give you a list. Just say foods high in resistant starch. And those are foods that you want to make part of your menu, right? But just treat them like you would treat the baked potato. You cook it and you chill it for 24 to 48 hours and then pull it out and eat it. So you make a potato salad, 2 days later, and you eat that, and blood sugar doesn't go up the same way. So this is a wonderful thing about resistant starch. Now, what about other sweeteners? There's one that is recommended for people with diabetes all the time by very well-meaning dietitians. And I don't want to badmouth, people. They are focused on blood sugar. They are focused on blood sugar because they've been taught that blood sugar needs to be controlled. And they're absolutely right, because you can lengthen your life significantly if you control your blood sugar. So they'll turn you to agave syrup. The problem is they don't understand the toxic effect of fructose. And agave syrup is made the same way that high fructose corn syrup is made. High fructose corn syrup, they take the starch from corn and they chemically modify it until they have a form of high fructose corn syrup. And it's usually about 56% fructose. Well, the same thing with the agave. They take the agave cactus, the starch in the agave cactus, and they chemically modify it, and they make this syrup out of it that is 56% fructose sometimes. It depends on the manufacturer. See, fructose is a very sweet sugar, and some manufacturers will make it, I think it's up to 86% fructose that may be in there. So, if you have agave syrup in your kitchen, I would encourage you, don't use it. Find somebody else to use it or get rid of it. Just be sure you give it to your enemies, right? You don't need it if you have diabetes. Somebody else might be able to eat it for a while and be okay, but that should not. You should scratch it off your menu. Turbinado sugar.
The difference, the reason you don't want to eat it is we're not interested in you just controlling your blood sugar. You want to reverse whatever caused you to have diabetes and to get well. So that's the difference. If you just want to focus on controlling the blood sugar, agave syrup works very well. And why is it, based on what you've learned tonight, why is it that agave syrup doesn't spike your blood sugar? It's because it has to go to the liver and be converted, and that delays the spiking of the sugar. Okay? So when it's going to the liver and part of it is being stored in your liver, in the long run, it makes your diabetes worse. Okay? And you're wanting to get better, so that's why.
Okay. Now, there are a number of other sugars, and people ask me, well, what about healthy sugars? And they will list all kinds of things, monk fruit and turbinado sugar and sucanat and all kinds of stuff. I listed a few of them here. You'll get the idea pretty quickly of what we're talking about. Turbinado sugar is almost as pure as regular white sugar. Regular white sugar is just plain old sucrose, 50% glucose, 50% fructose. So when it separates, you have 50-50. Well, with turbinado sugar, it's not quite, there's 1% impurities. And that's why it's off white, it's supposed to be healthier for you. It has trace minerals in it. They've taken most of the minerals out of it, but they left a few for you. And anyway, but because of that, it's 49.5% because of the impurities. It's 49.5% fructose and 49.5% sucrose. So brown sugar is 95% sucrose, but it contains 1% free glucose, and it also contains 1% free fructose. So when we take half of the 95 and we add the 1% fructose, you get 48.5% fructose. Honey is a better sweetener, but it is a refined food product. The bees did the refining, okay? But it's 41% fructose. So it's lower in fructose, so it's a better option. Maple syrup, the pure stuff, this is not the imitation stuff, this is the pure stuff, is an even better option yet. It's only 30% fructose. And in fact, we have some recipes, a dessert recipe that contains some maple syrup. Yes?
I have a question. Backing up to that honey, if you get honey that they consider raw that hasn't been pasteurized, is there a difference in that?
Not in the chemical composition of the thing. The thing that pasteurization does is it kills bacteria that are existent there. It doesn't do a whole lot for the goodness, I don't think. Basically what you're doing is you've got a refined food product. Now I could stand to be corrected on that because I'm answering you off the cuff, and I don't have a scientific study to back up what I'm saying right there. But that's just my intuition, my chemistry background. So that could be wrong. And I like to make sure that I qualify everything I say with a peer-reviewed scientific study. So I may be speaking out of turn right there. So
We'll look it up.
yeah, I'll have to get back with you on that. Maple syrup, we covered that one. Molasses, even better yet, 27.5% fructose. So there are other healthier options that we can do. Now, invariably, first I want to go to this slide. These were scholars at Harvard University that sorted this information out, and I just think it's wonderful information to know. What they did is they looked, in your body. One of the things we've said for years is carbohydrates make you fat. Have you ever heard that? Mm-hmm. What carbohydrate makes you fat? Let's look at the science and see what the science says. So in this study, they looked at just that. They say if the fat in your body is made from glucose, typically what happens if you have excess glucose calories, the body turns up the metabolism. So you actually will burn more, and you will maintain normal body size. So only a very small portion of that is retained as fat. But if you have gained your weight from eating glucose, it's associated with longevity. And it's also associated with increased insulin sensitivity. That means it's driving your diabetes in reverse, okay? And it makes diabetes better if you gain your weight from glucose. So it's associated with longevity. It's interesting. However, if the fat that you gain from carbohydrates is made from fructose, the majority of that is stored as fat. Now, we learned the mechanism how just a few minutes ago, as we were learning about fructose and how it's metabolized. And it results in significant weight gain. It is associated with increased insulin resistance. If you are gaining weight because you're eating, if you're gaining weight from carbohydrates, and the carbohydrate is the fructose, then it's associated with increased insulin resistance. And it's only released from the liver by hormones. Now, there are two of them. One of them is called epinephrine. You may know it as adrenaline. So in order to reverse your diabetes, you need to start living on the edge. Run red lights. Let's go skydiving, extreme mountain skiing. Anything like that, you can do it because that'll reverse your diabetes.
If you live to do it.
Or, yes, if you live through it, yes. Or the other one is glucagon. And glucagon is released from the stomach and small intestine only when it's empty. But we live in a postprandial society. You think about it. We get up in the morning, first thing we do is we reach for the cup of coffee. We have 2 cups of coffee, and then, a couple hours later, maybe, we eat breakfast, on the run probably, and we go to the office, and about mid-morning, we hit the vending machine for a snack, because it's break time. We have a second cup of coffee, or a third or fourth, and then we have lunch at 11:30 or 12, and they have an office party at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By 4 o'clock, because you ate snacks, sugary snacks or whatever, at 2, now by 4, you're feeling shaky, so you've got to hit the vending machine again. You get a bag of chips. You go home. You have dinner at 6 o'clock. Then before you go to bed, you have ice cream. And when is your stomach ever empty? That means when you eat fructose, 30% of that pound of fructose that you eat, in other words, 1/3 of the pound, you're going to wear for the rest of your life. Or you have to change your lifestyle. We have to think about things like maybe intermittent fasting. I want to back up just a little bit. Let's think about this. Where is the fat made in your body from glucose? Some of it in the liver, yes.
You use it.
It's actually every cell in your body can store a little bit of the energy from glucose. So we have to put the spotlight on everything. But we also know that metabolism is turned up and normal body size is maintained when you eat that carbohydrate. When you eat glucose-based, that's starches. When you eat starches, when you eat the pasta, when you eat the potato, it's not the potato that's going to make you fat, nor is it the pasta. There's something else there. I'll tell you what it is in just a minute. Okay, so if you're eating lots of fructose, the number one thing, according to the USDA, I believe it is, the U.S. government, the number one thing that leads to the obesity epidemic in America today is sugar-sweetened beverages. And the majority of that, where's that made? Where's the fat from fructose made? It's the liver. It's the liver. So it's the fructose that's making us fat. So when you say, I got to watch my carbs, what you really should be saying is, I've got to watch my fructose intake. I've got to watch the sugar-sweetened beverages. I've got to watch the agave syrup. I've got to watch the crystalline fructose. I've got to watch the food labels that say added fructose there. Is that making any sense? Okay?
So you're reading the label and it says sugar. Does that sugar include the fructose, or is that completely separate?
Yes. So if it says sugar, that means it's 50% glucose and it's 50% fructose, and when you digest it, you're breaking it apart.
So when it says 6% sugar, it's half fructose and half.
Right. Now, if it says glucose, snack away. Snack away, because that is the healthier of the two carbohydrates. At the end of digestion, we have just two, glucose and fructose. So have at the glucose. But just think about this, you're at home and you're getting ready to make you're getting ready to make a cake, and it calls for a cup of sugar. So you have to, think about that. If that cup is 8 ounces, then you've added 4 ounces of fructose. Okay, and you're going to wear 1/3 of that. So 1 1/3 ounce you're going to wear for the rest of your life, unless you make a significant intervention.
Okay, but part of what she's asking is when it says sugar, is that sucrose, which means it's fructose and glucose. But there's two places where it's listed. On the nutritional label, it adds all the sugars together. You're not going to know which sugar it is unless you read the ingredients. The ingredients will tell you if it's glucose or dextrose or there's maltose. Cane
sugar is sucrose.
Is sucrose, yeah.
Cane
just like
sugar
your white
is
sugar.
sucrose. So that's 50% fructose and 50% glucose. But remember too, okay, we have 2 other questions. I'll hold my comment for a moment.
No, so you're saying that when the label says 22% added sugar, they're adding all the sugars that are in that item?
No, the added sugars are added in addition to what the sugars naturally occurring in the food are. But remember that if you're eating the foods, you need not just think about just the sugar. You need to think about the fiber. Am I getting the whole food here? Am I getting all the fiber that comes along with this? Because if you're getting plenty of fiber, then it becomes moot point. Yes?
Some ingredients are now using glucose syrup.
Yes.
That's another one.
Yes, that is okay. Uh-huh.
Repeat it for the
Okay. She said some ingredients, they're using glucose syrup. You can look at when you see like corn syrup. The corn syrup is a glucose base. It's a dextrose-based syrup. That's okay. But the high fructose corn syrup is the one that has 56% fructose in it, and that's the one that's going to get you. Yes. So anyway.
Okay, our next slide is intermittent fasting.
Okay. So how do we get rid
Forward
of...
yours.
I lost it. How do we get rid of the fructose once we have that stored in our liver? Is it possible? And the answer is yes. And one of the easiest ways to do that is through intermittent fasting. With intermittent fasting, you get up in the morning, you eat a healthy, high-fiber breakfast. You wait approximately 5.5 to 6 hours, and you eat another very healthy, high-fiber lunch. And then don't eat again until the next morning. Now, what happens is that high-fiber food, fiber gives you satiety. So you want the high-fiber foods because it helps you feel satisfied with your meal. I have people that come to me typically almost every program, and they said, I just can't eat this much food. Well, just make sure you're eating your fiber foods first, because the fiber foods give you satiety and you don't want to be snacking all the time. So what happens if you eat that high-fiber dinner about... when you go to bed and you will sleep during the time when you're most hungry, okay? It actually improves your sleep cycle as well. And no more food until next morning. What will happen is about 4 o'clock in the morning, your small intestine and your stomach gets empty. And so it secretes glucagon. The glucagon travels to the liver and is the signal to the liver, you got to give up sugar because we've run out over here. And so every night, if you're doing intermittent fasting, every time you do the intermittent fasting, it's defatting your liver. Now, there is It's driving diabetes in reverse. As you lose the fat, you also increase your insulin sensitivity. And so that's important to remember. Now, there's something that is known as the dawn phenomenon. And this is where I diverge pretty strongly from a lot of the medical practitioners. You know, you go to your doctor and he's focused on blood sugar control. I understand that. And so he tells you, well, if your blood sugar, you know, you went to bed tonight, you checked your blood sugar before you went to bed, it was 125. You get up the next morning and check your blood sugar, and it's 348. And you haven't had a bite to eat. What's he going to tell you to do? First thing he tells you to do is he understands that if your stomach gets empty, you're going to release glucagon, and that's going to cause your liver to release glucose, and because you're insulin resistant, your blood sugar is going to go up. Well, as far as reversal goes, we want that to happen over and over and over again. We don't want you to have untreated high sugars. Now, that's known as the dawn phenomenon.
But what will the doctor tell them to do?
So the doctor will tell you to eat a bedtime snack because that keeps your stomach from being empty during the night. You won't release the glucagon. You'll hold on to the fat in your liver, and your blood sugar will stay under better control. But we want it to happen. Now, when you wake up and your blood sugar is 348, first thing I want you to do is you put on a jacket and you go outside and you walk for 30 minutes. Come back in and recheck your sugar. If your sugar is still up, then you can treat yourself, you know, inject the insulin according to your sliding scale or whatever the doctor has told you to do. But give exercise the option first. And you always need to check. Make sure that that's taken care of. But typically that brings the blood sugar down. Now, in some instances, it may actually drive your sugar up, especially in type 1 diabetics. But this is one of the ways that we can manage that. And usually within a fairly short period of time, your blood sugars in the morning will start coming down. Give it 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks. And you should start noticing morning sugars beginning to trend down. And typically by the end of our program, I have people that are coming to me saying, I haven't seen numbers this low in a long time. It's been years. So anyway, this will happen. So yeah. So there, he's bringing up a good point. It's what Dr. Roy Taylor of Newcastle University calls the twin cycle hypothesis. It's like two wheels on a bicycle, but they're turning maybe at different speeds, if you please. What happens is when you have excess fat in the liver, you will see your fasting sugar in the morning go up. And that's usually one of the first things we see come down, because usually it takes about 1 to 2 weeks of lifestyle interventions and you'll start noticing the fasting sugar in the morning comes down. The other one is what's happening in the pancreas. When you get excessive fat in the pancreas, then it impacts your first phase insulin release, which happens right after you eat a meal. And typically, it takes about 6 times longer for the fat in the liver in the pancreas to resolve than it does for the fat in the liver. So even though your morning sugars are in the normal range, you would still expect to see elevated sugars after a meal because your pancreas hasn't reversed yet. So stay with the program long term. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, she. Right.
So what I need to do is work on intermittent fasting.
Have you talked with your physician? Because what the physician needs to do, you need to take them the letter and let them know that you're going through this program and ask them for a plan to help you come off of your medication safely. Because he has you medicated for the amount of exercise you normally do and for the foods that you normally eat. But now you're changing things, and so your body is going to have different needs. And so what a lot of the physicians do is they put their patients on sliding scale insulin. So you'll be checking your sugars, and you'll adjust your insulin based on your needs. And that will safely help you to come off of it.
I really want
So-
to encourage you to let lifestyle have play its course. So if you're experiencing the dawn phenomenon, you get up in the morning and you have that high blood sugar, instead of reaching first for the insulin and injecting yourself, give lifestyle a chance. Go out and walk for 30 minutes and then come back in and test. And if you still need insulin, then you give yourself insulin there. The second thing is, after meals, the walking after the meals is absolutely critical because that lowers your need for insulin. So, I came into a diabetes, we were about half done with a diabetes program up in Grundy County at First Baptist Church. And I had these two ladies walk in, and I said, well, how are your sugars doing? Just visiting with them, connecting with them when they first came in. They said, oh, they're doing good. They're doing good. Well, what was it this morning? One of them said 60. The other one said 54. I'm about to stroke out. Have you talked to your doctor? No, I have an appointment in 3 weeks. Not good enough, guys. This stuff will kill you. Your doctor needs to know that you're on this program. Now, some doctors actually don't believe it'll work. But, doctors that do believe it worked, I had some doctors that we worked with, and he would put all of his insulin-dependent patients on a sliding scale, and he would say, okay, when you check your sugars, if your blood sugar is below 140, then you lower your insulin dose 3 units. If it's above 140, you hold your dose at the regular dose. Then if you've lowered your dose, tomorrow you come along, you check your blood sugar. If it's below 140, you'll lower it by 3 more units. But if it's above 140, you will hold at that new dose. Okay? And you continue doing that, and so they can come down 3 units a day doing it that way. And he would have patients that would come right on off.
But the physician
Yeah, but
needs
your
to
doctor
manage
needs
that.
to do that. That's what you hired him for. Yeah, you have a long-acting insulin and a short-acting insulin, probably. Oh, okay. Okay. Uh-huh.
And that took care of that. But late afternoon, early evening, his blood sugars
Mm-hmm.
really high. And so that's why she put me on the fast after. But I don't know. I know my doctor over here would probably be on board with this with my endocrinologist. I don't have a where we can see her is whenever.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. So, my advice to you is follow your doctor's advice. But, within that parameter, do your very best to let lifestyle interventions control your sugars first and then medications secondarily. So, that's okay. I mean, that's what we're here for. This is important information that we all need. So anyway, let's go on and look about sugar substitutes. For years, we have taught that there was only one sugar substitute that we would recommend. And we said that one was stevia. But, additional information has come out, and I don't recommend any of these sugar substitutes. They're chemicals. They typically increase your desire to eat, and so you will tend to overeat when you're eating them. In fact, there have been multiple studies that have shown that people that use artificial sweeteners eat more and gain more weight than the people that eat regular sweeteners. So
they're addictive.
I wouldn't say addictive in the sense of being addicted, but you do have cravings to eat more, yes. Yes, and in that sense, yes.
They turn off, some of these turn off the communication between your stomach and your brain, that you're full. The brain never gets the message, which is why you keep eating. When you're doing the sugar-free drinks, you're missing that communication,
Yeah,
and people often eat more.
We'll talk about leptin resistance our last night of the lecture, but that's a very real thing that happens when people eat these artificial sweeteners. The best thing to do is eat the whole food the way God created it.
And if you need a little bit of sweetener, use those that are on the bottom. They have the least fructose, the molasses, the maple syrup, or the honey. Those three are better choices if you need a little bit.
So what you're really doing is kidding yourself. You think, well, it's a healthy sugar, so wow, I go nuts on it. I guess this is yummy. I'm going to eat it.
Well, if you do that, then you're in trouble. And remember this, guys. You're making lifestyle changes. What we want you to do is make these changes for the rest of your life. Remember, if you do what you did, you're going to get what you got. Okay? So the same holds true once you've reversed your diabetes. If you do what you did, you're going to get what you got. So we need to learn. It's a process. I mean, we have struggled sometimes to know what to put on the table at our home. Because, you know, it's one thing to walk to the refrigerator and or the freezer, and you get out a tilapia and throw it on the stove, and you add a couple vegetables with it. And it's a total other thing to think, now what am I going to eat? You know, what are you going to do instead of maybe even your red meats or whatever? What are you going to do instead? So anyway, we have to learn what better choices might be and go that way. Yes, Debbie.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. But you got to learn how to do those wonderful recipes. I mean, Karen does recipes now that are, no added sugar. I mean, they're wonderful desserts. No added sugar. Anyway.
Okay.
Go figure.
It's time for exercise.
Oh, yes.
And then break up.
All right.
And no Jeff.
Jeff's not here. Mike's back there sitting like I'm not interested.
Wouldn't that be great to have one of the participants do that?
Might be. Or even Gary or something like that. No?
Okay, guys, stand up. I've been out installing solar all day in the sun. I'm with it. So you have to motivate. Warm up, just a little side to side. You want to just move your arms, move some of your shoulders. As we get older, that gets a little hard on this. Remember this meeting. How many people are doing the exercise? I didn't get to see it from the back. How many people are doing it? Ms. Carver?
I see several hands going in the air.
That looks like the keto. How many people? Wait a minute. All right. Are we warm?
Yep.
Okay. What are we going to do first? Let's just run place. Do the speed you're comfortable with. Don't hurt yourself. You get that heart rate up in the aerobic zone. You want to feel yourself breathe a little bit. The more you fit in, the more you get out, but you don't want to go so. Michelle's beating all of them. They here. Gary, Michelle, are leading. All right, cool down. Good job, guys. No one complained. All right, we're going to do the crossover with your elbow to your knee next. Now, lift me up. You can do it, babe.
Did she help you do solar today?
She talked to the ladies a lot. She gave a talk.
That costs a lot, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Okay, when you think everyone's caught their breath a little bit.
Everybody ready to go? Satan's got to be burpees then. All right, ready?
All right, start.
All right, let's take some coordination, which I don't have. Raise it as high as you can, but don't hurt yourself. The older you get, it's harder to get that knee up there.
It's only 30 seconds. We're at 25.
That's not bad.
7.
I hear the train. You're almost catching the train, guys.
Okay, 30 seconds.
All right, cool down. Let's do some upper body stuff. Give our legs a break. We're just going to do the punching thing. You can punch up, punch to the side, give yourself some room. Don't come out here, spread it out. How are we doing?
Well, it's just when they catch their breath. We're at 25 seconds.
Get out of this place. At 30, we're going.
All right, 30. What are you doing?
We're just going to punch. Stretch it out, punch it out.
Easy on the shoulders.
Easy on the shoulders. Good job. Punch out. All right, I got my shoulders back. Good. Punch up. Punch to the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I get. Our topic next week is fats that make diabetes worse. So be doers of the word, not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. If you don't do it, you won't realize the benefit. So, guys, I'll be praying for you this week, and hope things go well. Before we break into our groups, I think Debbie, do you have a drawing? Yes. Yes. You doing it?